Cool.
Yeah.
All right, and welcome everybody to another exciting installment of the Terrorisk podcast. I'm with Carmen,
That's me.
Richie,
Hello.
and
Kai.
new guest Kai. Kai is Carmen's good friend. Kai is also a pretty talented artist. You got that drawing? Actually, nah, fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it. I'll send you a photo. I'm gonna like stumble up and down the
Yeah,
stairs.
it was
I'm far
really
too
good, man.
wasted.
It was really good. It was like this crazy drawing of like of I think it was Buddha and Vedic warrior entities like floating in the clouds doing battle. It was pretty sick. It's gonna be burned, etched into my memory forever.
It goes pretty hard.
What is it called again? A thonka?
Yeah, it's a Tibetan style
Speak.
painting.
Into the mic.
Oh, whoops, I forget.
Sorry
First
for
time,
pulling you
first
in.
time.
I mean, drafting you in here.
Yeah, it's a Tibetan style painting. I've been learning it for a decent amount of time, so I thought I'd gift it to Carmen.
I appreciate it.
That's
It
pretty
came
awesome.
out pretty good, man.
Yeah.
I want one of those paintings. Like, what the fuck, man? Those are good.
This is the first time I met you, Chris.
Yeah, I know. This is the first time I've seen your art. You know, I was like, that shit is crazy. It was it was so good.
Thank you.
Mm.
Um,
What if you had a career making thankas and you had an Etsy?
Oh. hope so, but yeah.
I mean, clearly, the way I see it, it's good enough where it's like obvious that you have a passion for it. If you have a
Yeah,
passion
yeah.
for something, then it's clearly what you probably want to do in your life deep down. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, definitely. I would like to continue it. Continue learning. I know a guy who's done it for my teacher's done it for his whole life, but some guys do it for 10 years or something.
Yeah. Have you ever been through what people would consider a spiritual awakening ever?
I guess I wouldn't call it that. I just got more interested in my religion sometime in college just to learn about it more. Buddhism.
Yeah.
Particularly Pure Land Buddhism.
Well, yeah, I grew up with Pure Land, and now I'm learning more about Tibetan style, which is Vajrayana.
Yeah, awesome. That's cool shit.
That's pretty sick.
What would you say are the biggest ways your practices and stuff have helped you in your life? Like what avenues of life, like professionally, socially? I bet it probably helps all of them in a way.
Well, I suppose in terms of professionally or socially, it might be something I'm interested in pursuing, as in pursuing the study of it, whether academic or not. It's definitely kept my interest, and socially, I guess it's just been interesting to post about, interesting to talk to people about. Although socially, in terms of whether it's on the internet or in real life, the spaces everyone hangs around with or has their own, right? So it's more tangentially related to that, but definitely something pretty connected.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've had any personal benefits on a purely individual level from the religious study? And
Well,
if you have
yes,
any,
I suppose just to satisfy my own intellectual, curiosity in terms of I'm a kind of guy who would, if they feel some part of them is from this certain tradition or something, I do like to figure out where does it come from, why do people believe something like this, and so on. But in terms of personally meditation and stuff like that, I've done it a little bit, but I'm not so experienced, to be frank. So, but it's definitely something I'm eager to learn.
All right, cool. So it's more like a new avenue of study for you, if anything.
Mm-hmm, definitely, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've definitely. I mean, I definitely can't say I would identify as any kind of Buddhist because I don't. No, I mean, it's not that I wouldn't want to. It's just I don't think it would be. I just don't think I qualify to call myself something like that. In all honesty, I'm just not schooled enough on the.
No, yeah. I know a few people who are very intelligent, and they, just because they're so intelligent, they feel that they cannot honestly commit to one, and that's perfectly, fine. If they're definitely knowledgeable enough to know the pros and cons of each, and if they feel they're going their own way in their own, intellectual progress, then it's not anything. Some people are too much into this whole you have to commit to one kind of a thing to be authentic, but I don't necessarily think that.
Well, that's honestly my biggest interest right now in any of it, or even theology. I like looking at Christianity and Buddhism, specifically the practices, and even Islam. And I just like looking at the practices and the actual tangible benefits. Like, for example, the Bible would tell us things like don't drink, don't have irresponsible premarital sex, don't do shit that's potentially bad for you, and it's not even just Christianity that does that. Islam does that pretty hardcore. Judaism does that. They all have these rules, and they're not rules necessarily meant to like suppress you. They're actually kind of like, it's like, they're all gonna have their own version of like how to live, things that you should do and shouldn't do. And if you follow it, I think you get to pretty much the same place, which is like a place of like self-love and finding like your alignment with higher forces and all that stuff. So once you build your body, once you take care of yourself in all aspects, mind, body, and spirit, if you could actually like, cultivate that proper and positive alignment where, none of those three elements are like at war with each other, then you're just naturally more primed for like higher power influences and higher power benefits. For example, like, they say if you live a pious life, like you live longer and all that shit, which, in a literal sense makes sense. Like, oh, what are they saying? If you don't drink, if you don't do irresponsible things with your body, if you don't do immoral things that make you hate yourself, if you don't do these things, wait, you just get naturally healthier. And it's like, no shit. Like, yeah, that makes perfect fucking sense.
Right.
So it's like, I'm just like, that's what interested me. So it's like, if you really, yeah, there's conflicting narratives in different religions and different like spiritual teachings and practices. But if you actually look at like the practices themselves, which is what actually matters materially, it's how much do we commit to it physically? How much do we spend time meditating? How much do we avoid, things that are bad for us? How much do we commit to doing things that are good for us and good for the people, in our lives? So if you cover those bases, you're going to get to the same place that any like, properly religious or pious person or spiritual person, if they're doing it right, which is generally just align mind, body, and spirit, then you're going to be good. You're going to reach the same place, in my opinion.
Big factor of religion is the community you have from being with other people.
Yeah, but I'm talking about something that's actually
personal.
Inherently it's a solo journey.
Societal structure as well.
Even like analytical psychology, like Carl Jung would say, like shadow work and the dark night of the soul is not a team. It's not a team effort. That's something that you go through alone. Which that's why if anything, I think the community aspect of a religion or a spiritual circle or whatever can actually do more to kind of harm your development,
In some ways, certainly with cults, it's worth mentioning how religiously engaged much of the population was historically. How many times in the past religion is not... It's something people believe in, but they don't feel it very deeply. Well, I'm sorry, that was very incoherent.
Well, that's another big aspect of it, which we were talking about before, which is actually what we decided this episode was going to be about, novelty seeking. So it's like, yeah, you could approach like spiritual shit and religion, theology in a sense where you're just seeking novelty. But I'm like, I don't think that's that terrible. I mean, it's terrible, I guess, if you're like actively like, being like predatory and exploitative about it. But like, if what brought you there was just because you were bored and you just wanted to explore something new, but then you ended up like immersing yourself in something that's ultimately good for you, which is then going to be good for people around you. It's actually, it's not bad, right?
Yes. I don't know. Well, yes, we were talking about novelty.
Yeah. Novelty seeking. Like, not just novelty in itself, but like actively like going around and like living your life in a way where you're just looking for the next thing that you think is going to give your life meaning, which, we were all subject to at one point. We all did shit like that. I did that. You did that. It's like,
yeah, of course.
Kai, what do you think of California Buddhism?
I was actually
Speaking of novelty seeking, when in the 60s, a lot of Americans picked up a
actually what
modified version of Buddhism. Please go ahead.
No, I was just saying. Actually, what popped into my head is the Christian Twitter thing, because a lot of the debates on there are about, they're arguing about who's an insincere convert and who isn't, right? So, in the American context, usually it'll be like a Protestant who didn't practice it too seriously, then they either become Catholic or Orthodox or something like that. Then there's debates like these people are quick to get into arguments and don't take their religion too seriously because they are novelty seekers. Now, I don't know too much about that sphere or anything like that. I just heard it from friends who are definitely more knowledgeable about it. But on the Buddhism side, it's interesting because on one hand, yes, they definitely were novelty seekers. They had, sometimes you can go overboard by accusing someone of Orientalism, because I don't really believe in that, right? Like, I think it's fine if they
all of us here
you
are
could wear
pro
kimonos, dude. It's all
Yeah,
no,
of course.
I don't even have an issue with like museums taking stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty normal. But that kind of Orientalism is like, okay, they thought there was something spiritual in the East, okay, if they commit to it, like you were saying, if they commit to it for a long period of time, there are some who are reliable. But like, for example, one of the most committed Western Buddhists is not famous, but he was the first one to get like the equivalent of like a Buddhist theology degree or something. I should say more than that. He is qualified to teach monks, because he is qualified to be like a head monk. But then he's like a European guy, so he thought this doesn't really make sense. I should just go back to the West and teach in a normal university rather than be
In Asia, teaching like
yeah. So then that makes sense. So then that's what he did, and he wasn't a hippie about it. He wasn't trying to start his own movement, cult kind of thing, right? So he was very a good normal guy. Anyway, all to say that the novelty-seeking version, when it applies to Buddhism or Eastern religion, it can have like very different outcomes. It can be an exploitative person who like changes the language, or he steals something and changes the language to make their own cult. It can be like calling themselves Buddhists but kind of watering it down, which is not so bad, but sometimes it leads to mistaken opinion, or it turns the religion into something that is more political or contemporary. And then the third version is seeking novelty and being honest about it, I guess.
Well, yeah, because if you're seeking novelty and being honest about it, you're basically saying, I just want new experiences in my life, which is like a very human drive, I guess. Like, I just want to not feel like I'm doing nothing and like being static. So yeah, and I think like when it comes to spiritual practices like Buddhism, the novelty aspect could come in when it's like, I just want a new way to look at shit. I don't want to look at things the way I look at it right now because everything's so dull and gray. I want to look at it in a new dimension, or I want to look at it in like from a new perspective. So I think that's like one of the more benign forms of like novelty seeking, probably, right? It's like,
yeah.
Which is and honestly, like that's probably what humanity is about, and like human life is probably literally just about like exploring and finding new ways to look at things, because you're just gonna stare at the same shit. You might as well just figure out how to like look at it differently.
I think I've heard descriptions of people of all different faiths saying that they grew up in the religion and they had an arc, that there was like, they didn't have to seek out something, well, maybe in other ways, but there was a constant novelty being provided by the religion, that they got a deeper understanding of it. Or they often, you'll hear old timers in general describe some event, some feeling that they've seen described many times that they never felt, like in literature, in tropes, and religious teaching, that then when they became a parent or had a loved one die, it had sudden significance.
You've heard stories like that before.
Yeah. I mean, another thing, though, like another form of novelty would be like seeking, because in my opinion, like it's not just like, just to fulfill like your boredom or like seeking knowledge, but there's also tangible benefits. Like it does improve your life, like if you actually commit, it's not like not necessarily like learning and reading and like gaining knowledge, but like actually committing to the physical practices. That does stuff to you, that changes you on a very fundamental level. Like everything from like meditation / prayer, because I consider prayer to be like a form, some element of like, it shares a lot of elements with meditation,
Is boredom a form of meditation, or can be?
I think boredom is a state, no?
Yeah.
Boredom is a state.
Terrible one to be in.
Due to constant stimulation, us all having smartphones, how often are you bored nowadays?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't.
You also do a lot of things that are very productive. You drive yourself.
Yeah, I don't think I'm that much of a bored person, to be honest. But it's if anything, I'm the kind of person that like I make the most progress when I actually get time alone.
Yeah.
And that's why I think like the last 2 years have been so transformative, because I have no roommates now. I work completely remotely, so I don't have to go into a fucking office anymore. So I spend the majority of my days by myself, and I could actually think. And I don't think I've had that for a long time in my life, and that's what like led me to like so many profound changes and like realizations. Solitude is like very powerful, which is another like spiritual practice.
Yeah.
Like, you need solitude. And it's also when I approach this stuff, I don't even approach it as like a devout faithful. Like most of the time, like I came into this initially all from like the psychological element, like I've always loved I was always into psychology because my life growing up was very fucking hard, and I had to like deal with a lot of different kinds of people, and not all those people were really good. So my only defense against that, my only tool that had ready access to was psychology. So because that basically teaches you how people think, it teaches you how people work. So I dived very deeply into psychology. But that eventually led me to like, metaphysics and how people perceive like a world beyond the world and all that shit. And because that has profound impacts on psychology, which has profound impacts on how you interact with the world. So that's why I got into like a lot of the spirituality shit. But then there's events in my life that triggered like a lot of shit that offered like confirmation of some things. Like I won this sword tournament, and I was like, that's the first time I competed in anything, and I wanted to win really, really bad, and I committed to it, and I won. So it was one of those things where it's like shit, and that kind of like led me down like a rabbit hole. Also, there was like conspiracy theories about like, reptilians and aliens and shit. It actually drove me it didn't drive me insane. What happened was it just made things like so bleak. But I have a problem solver mentality. So if I get pushed to like an existential crisis, my immediate instinct is, well, what do we do about it? What's the solution? So when you look at these conspiracy theories about like reptilian overlords and shit and aliens and all this shit,
All
and, like,
true, by the way.
and like a black government shit,
A black government,
Black
the most
government.
terrifying
Yeah,
thing
true.
you listed.
No, so I look at the solution, and what they say every time was raise your consciousness, and I'm like, raise your consciousness? What the fuck does that mean, raising consciousness? So I googled it. I went and did research and tried to figure out what it means to quote unquote raise your consciousness, and then I came across like all these texts that were actually like extremely fucking profound. I was like, holy fucking shit. One of the main things was like where I decided to trust life. Like, I'm just going to trust life. And like I didn't know what that meant at first as I was saying it, but when I really started writing it down, like what in my commonplace notebook, I was just like, which I started doing too. It was just a fucking weird habit. But anyway, like I just wrote it. I wrote shit down. And I was like, what the fuck did I just write? And it was basically saying, it was an affirmation to myself. Like, I'm going to choose to trust life. Life doesn't happen to me. Life doesn't happen for me. Life doesn't happen through me.
It was a mantra for you.
Yeah, I am life. I am life. I am a focal point of the universe becoming aware of itself. And then that automatically unlocked so many things in my head where I realized, oh shit, it's like consciousness is actually miraculous. The fact that we're able to perceive things is a miracle. Like that's like such a crazy, basically a confirmation of God, of something out there. That's something's there, because if you're conscious, that means so is the universe. That's just a fact, because you are the universe. So if you're conscious, the universe is conscious. And another way I
It's
looked
kind
at,
of like is it monadism?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
yeah.
Not as opposed to gonadism,
But if you-
which is that reality is come.
but if you look at like, ancient Egyptian theology, how they
Yeah.
would say like the kingdom of heaven is within yourself. I'm like, that actually, I get it, or it's
Yeah.
like they would say like God is within you, God, you are made in the image of God, and all. Like you realize it's like all the religions and all the spiritual practice, they're all pointing in the same direction, but everyone's just concentrating on like the different fingers. But they just gotta like understand, like, dude, they're all really in essence talking about the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
And I think when you see that, you're like, oh shit. But it's one thing to see it, it's one thing to know it, but when you apply that to your own life and like live with that perspective, that's life changing. That's when you start like problems come up that you would normally react badly to, and then you're like, you know what, fuck this, they're just like me. They're not that different from me as a person. They could be murderers, they could be rapists, they could be pedophiles, but we're all just the same soul living out different skin, lives in different skin suits. And once you realize that, you're like, shit, life is actually pretty fucking crazy and awesome. Like it's a great game. It's
interconnected.
It's an awesome game. It's a great fucking game that you just can't help but appreciate once you see it as a game. It's the greatest game ever made, in my opinion.
I would agree. Yeah, it's a long, hard grind.
Oh yeah, and you know what? What's also cool is it's like you're gonna play it over and over and over again. Probably, maybe some point you're gonna stop having to play this game. Maybe some point you're gonna have to stop doing the same.
You're going to
life.
stop respawning in Samsara.
Yeah. You're gonna be like, all right, you're done with the sim. You learned the lessons. You did your shit. But who knows when that'll be, right? I don't think it's linear either. I think like you might die in this lifetime. It's like, all right, Now we're gonna send you back into the 1940s, and you're gonna be one of the Nazi gas chamber operaters. It's like, well, someone's got to do it. You just dive right in there, you know. Girl, you get born in Dusseldorf, Germany, you know, like
1920.
Yep. So it's like, you know, I think
Nation humiliated.
yeah. Which is also crazy to think about. Imagine that reincarnation is non-linear in time like that. It doesn't have to.
Imagine you reincarnate as a Nazi NB.
Yeah.
You're the only non-binary person in 1942.
I think what makes the most sense is first you reincarnate as a Jewish person in the concentration camp, and then you die, and then you reincarnated as a Nazi who killed that Jewish person, so you could experience both ends. And that makes the most sense to me, because then you get the full breadth of the experience as a soul. Of course,
flipped because the Jew is the punishment, so you should be the Nazi first.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Unless you get to be the Jew first, and then you get oh, this sucks, and then you're finally Nazi, and you're like, yeah, buddy. Like,
what if you're born Indian? They just fucked.
Oh yes, that's why they're just constantly.
Yeah, that's how they invented it, right? They thought, man, this fucking sucks.
Yeah,
Hinduism perfectly captures how depressing living in India is.
But this isn't even such like an out of pocket like theory to this isn't
No,
even
not
like,
at all. It's theosophy. It's a lot of philosophies have said similar.
Also, we
or
could
the same.
conceptualize easy, like cartoons describe this sensation. You know, in
Yeah.
Rick and Morty when they were playing that game, what's his name? Fuck, I forgot what I think it was John or some shit. It's like they were playing. It was basically just you strap in, and you live the lifetime of a guy from like birth to death, and then at the end of it they grade you, and it's like it was a really good bit. I liked it.
Yeah.
They're playing Jeff or something. And then it's like when Morty did it, he lived a regular normal life, and then he died randomly as an old man in a heart attack. And Rick was like, "You're so fucking lame." And then he plays it, and he's like, "Yo, he's taking him off the grid." I was like, "That's pretty good."
Do you think over the course of many incarnations throughout time, how repetitive it must feel?
Well, that's when the question is like old souls, right? Like you think some souls or some incarnation or some soul beams may have done more rotations of this than others, you know? But that I just what rubs me wrong about spirituality and religions is when it gets hierarchical. Because like, yeah, I know it's probably true that some people are probably more on the path, like further along the path than others. But I just don't want to focus on that. You know, I don't like the idea that some people are just more connected than others. You know, even though it's true, but I just don't like to focus on that. It's not. I
suppose
know.
it helps with maintaining and dispersing the religion.
Yeah. Also, another thing that
I mean, Protestantism is relatively decentralized. They have the individual churches which control authority within the members.
That's Republican as well. That's more like anarcho ANCAP. Yeah, that's ANCAP as fuck.
Yeah, American religion's very ANCAP.
Yeah.
As it should be, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
We've had a
American
lot
people
of.
are.
It's been mentioned often how there's a lot of cults in American history. Kind of like how there's a lot of cults in East Asian or Dharmic religions history.
Yeah. Okay. So this leads me to my point. Like, as a person who's getting super into this, and I don't think like I'm just I'm knowledgeable at all because I'm just getting into this stuff. But I think I am good at embodying these things. Like, you know, if you were to tell me it's like, oh, premarital sex is bad, I think I'd be like, fine, I'll do that. Or if you were to tell me like you have to meditate at least once a day or once a week,
You'll be
I'd be
like, I will never meditate.
Ever, yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, I feel like I could commit to things. I feel like I'm good at committing to things. And I knew this from martial arts, like, you know, which has nothing to do with religion or spirituality necessarily, but understanding, like, physical discipline, you know, willing yourself to do something even though you may not want to do it because you see the bigger picture and, like, your development and all that shit. So it's like, yeah, I just feel like, you know, I'm primed for that stuff. Not as an archivist, you know, a theologist or anything, but more as the actual like practicer. You know, it's like you know what? I'll open it, like, you know, in a Christian sense, like I'll open my mind to God, and whatever God says, I'll fucking do it. Where if God says, quote unquote, God / my intuition / the universe / source or whatever you want to fucking call it, if they were to tell me something and, you know, it was something like stop jerking off to porn, I'm like, you know what? Fine. I'll
And
stop
you did,
jerking
you
off to porn.
responded to
Yeah,
such
yeah.
a
So,
message.
so this is confirmed to myself. It's like I could actually do it. I may not necessarily be knowledgeable about it, but I could fucking do it, which I think is like really important. Not just the knowing part, like not just the learning the learning the texts, learning the history, learning the actual scripture, but to actually be able to practice it and apply it and embody it. I think that's like super important. And another thing is, I just don't think that I would ever like the position of even teacher or guru or anything like that. I don't think this is supposed to be like exclusive to anybody. I think this is the next stage of human evolution.
Yeah.
I don't think enlightenment is supposed to be like just for Buddha, or I don't think like it's supposed to be just for like Christ consciousness
Well,
is just for
no,
the
it's-
Messiah. Like I think it's everybody. I think it's supposed
It's
to be
right
everybody.
this
Yeah,
way
universal.
within the religion. Both
Yeah.
of those are very Buddhism and Christianity and Islam have a very universal proselytizing bent. There's other religions that are far more limited in how much as far as finding new members.
Yeah.
The proselytizing quality of both of them, that you want to go out and preach the finding of the religion or the sensation you had.
Yeah.
Right, going out and spreading more consciousness.
Because you
like
know you know the
nodes.
good it did for you. You want that for
Yeah.
other people. That's what they say when you feel the call to service. Like when you have a crazy uplift, when you meet God or have a spiritual awakening or something, you get called to service because this shit saved you. It saved your ass. It made life worth living for you. So you know that this is only going to be something that has to be spread. Because a world where everyone was like that, where everyone was at that place, that would be a better world.
Yeah.
Like that's why they feel that call to service, because they see into the future where they're like, yo, when people get it, when everybody actually fucking gets it, this world is going to be radically different for the better. And I think that's what I don't even think it's faith. I think it's there's a lot of like new age cults and shit that believe in like a split earth theory. They believe on a quantitative what's the word? Quantum level, that Earth will split in terms of timelines, and like we're going to experience like different Earths according to like your vibrational frequency or whatever. Like Earth splits. People who are actually like down for like unification, unity consciousness and all that shit are going to experience like a one quantum manifestation of Earth, whereas the people who are so like rooted in first principle and materialism and all that shit, they're going to experience the other Earth, which is just going to get fucked. Like we know what that is. Because I've lived that my whole life, so I know exactly what that's going to be like. And I'm going to say no thank you. Like I'd rather live amongst the people who at least have some acknowledgement of like a metaphysical sense of self. It's like I'm not my body. I'm not the emotions that my hormones and body chemicals emit. I'm not that. I'm something else. Like there's another dimension of me.
Yes. Besides this, what other new things do you think people are going to get into this year? 2024 novelty regarding it. What new developments will happen in the world?
I think
Tunnels.
Culturally.
What?
Start making more tunnels now, yeah.
Tunnels?
Oh, we're moving into an era of burrowing.
Yeah, we're in a burrowing era.
Well, we say that, and we're in a basement right now.
Yes, that's true.
Which
We are
is
in a
soundproofed.
basement.
It's very cavernous, very cozy.
I think another big thing is going to be, this has to do with the shift probably, but there's also like AI becoming like when we achieve artificial generalized intelligence or artificial general intelligence.
Possibly, I don't expect that at least next year. I'm going to see a lot of significant changes due to AI. I'm fascinated to see it about.
Well, here's the thing: like a lot of people are afraid of AI, right? And they're
Yeah.
scared of like the implications of AI. But again, I don't mean to bring it back to like the global awakening, but I think if you look at it from that lens, like it's the problem with like AI is only a problem if you're the problem. If you're not the problem, if people aren't the problem, then AI ultimately will just be an extension of a greater good.
Yeah, I mean it's a hugely promising technology.
Yeah.
which is an absurd understatement.
Did you hear about the AI art generator thing with Enlightenment?
No, I haven't.
Nope,
The
not at
mere
all.
significance of AI art generation is astounding.
Well, it's really
Go on.
funny that AI probably understands what enlightenment is. So there was this was covered.
Well, it has a large database to draw from.
Yeah, I'm pulling this straight from Joe Rogan, but like apparently some guy on a Twitter prompt for the Twitter's AI bot, they were like, generate a happy bunny, and it generated a picture of a happy bunny, and then the guy was like, he added the next prompt, he was like, no, make it happier. and the bunny gets happier.
Yes.
And then he's like, no, make it happier, like even happier.
Does it end up being a big stoner LSD art?
No,
image?
it ends up turning into this like cosmic light entity among like stars and
Yeah,
space.
I've seen
Like,
a lot of make. I've
It's
seen a lot
no, but the fact that it went there, that's astounding. Like the fact that first it went from like it first started to look like an acid trip. And it started like getting all distorted and weird and trippy. But then like he said, I don't think you understand. I need it to be much happier. And then that's when it just went off the rails.
A lot of the cases with those kind of threads where they say I'm going to make X more like X.
Yeah.
Or more like, I don't know, Z, I don't know. They often go through a stoner art phase where you've punched it in like 5-6 times the request. And then it can like kind of come back around to a platonic ideal or a beam of light like that. I enjoy those threads very deeply, by the way.
Yeah, it's
They're consistently entertaining.
It's awesome because I'm like, that means it has some capacity to do like good because it understands good. Maybe
Yeah.
it's already working towards a good. We don't. I mean, like people are like,
That's possible, yeah.
Yeah, they're only looking at open AI, but you don't know. Like they could have already, like DARPA could have developed like already
Nice
something.
AI.
Yeah.
It seems to be good just for shitposting only.
It's been a huge. Do you guys remember remember life before we had AI generated art, which is to say 2 years ago?
Yeah, of
Can you
course.
imagine now, like looking at posting without AI generated art?
I never use AI for anything. I should. I should
don't
use
just
it more.
see. I just see the output from it, and it's fascinating and astounding.
Actually, there was a band. I mean, there wasn't. I did use AI for some content purposes for the podcast.
What was it?
I was interviewing Geneva's band or former
Yes.
band, and so I did. Last minute I had to think of questions, so I just went to ChatGPT and I was like, pretend you're doing an interview with a cosmic sounding multi-genre electro synth rock band and blah blah blah, and then it gave me the questions and they were like really on point. Like they were really good questions. I mean, yeah,
Right.
I tweaked it. Like I had to tweak a lot of them, get rid of the stupid
But
ones.
it's great what it can produce. Right now, AI chat generation is the equivalent of having a bunch of average IQ
Interns.
100. Yeah, interns.
Yeah.
You have a ton of interns always at your disposal now.
I'm taking the last one.
All
Right.
right,
We'll
go
get more
for it.
after this.
Nice.
I just saw some thread about complaining about a George Carlin AI.
Oh, yeah, I
board.
saw that. Yeah, it's
But
awful.
I tried a little bit of it. It was awful, but then it was really psycho because they paired the AI generated voice over stand up with AI generated art. So it's like imagine like a guy is trying to draw the subject of a joke, of a George Carlin joke, but a bad
Ooh.
George Carlin joke. So then it's basically stupid.
Schizo territory.
Weird, no, but it's a weird, stupid thing. So like the AI made a like typical George Carlin joke about God, for example, right?
Yeah.
Like something really silly. But then the AI generated art that's paired with it is like an angry cartoon god or something. Like so this doesn't even make sense,
Fuck. I think it's just because we haven't reached AGI. Well, a publicly released AGI yet, which is, once that happens, people are basically gonna like copy their own versions of an AGI language model, like their own fucking thread of it, and they're gonna train it to do like weird things. If I had one, I would train it to be like a spiritual like a spiritual god, like a knowledge god. It's like, all right, let's do our daily meditations, and I would just type like crazy shit into it. What I really want,
It'd be very helpful, huh, to have an AI meditation buddy.
of course, 100%.
Director, you have a
you
GAI guru.
You feed
The
it
G stands for guru.
you feed it the Bible, you feed it the Torah, you feed
Yeah.
it the Quran, you feed it everything, and then you
it
say
spits out an average, perfectly calculated religious belief.
yes, and I think that's going to be good. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
That's a
I really,
good idea.
I think that's actually purifying the religions, if anything. That's
Yeah.
using AI.
Imagine using ChatGPT to go to an oracle.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
making fortune telling through the machine intelligence.
That's what I'm trying to tell the alarmists about AI. It's
Yeah.
it's like no, you could use it for like awesome, like really profound spiritual things. You could use
Do
it
you
for
think it'll cause more laziness
That's possible.
in people's writing?
So what?
Well, I'm just curious. I'm not saying it's not like it means AI is bad, but I just want to explore that.
Oh, and I mean, in writing in general, yes, that's a word. I just mean in terms of like, oh, so what if no one else writes new profound like spiritual
Right.
text and scripture? Like we don't need another Bible, we don't need another Torah, we
We're
don't
not
need
really
another
having
Quran.
religion, just in general.
Yeah, but you're right. In general, that's bad. I do think that's bad. Yeah, I do think it is making people lazy. I do think it's like kind of like scrubbing your creativity. But I think that could be offset by your will to be creative. If you teach
Yeah.
people to want to be creative, if you teach people to want to like commit to a practice, because you know how I roll. Like I could just use my fucking Obsidian app to make notes, but no, I keep a physical notebook, a moleskin notebook, so I could like actually take a pen and write into it. I think there's something about that practice.
Moleskin. We're back to the tunnels again. We're in the underground.
Moleskine. I like the Moleskine notebooks. That's my go-to brand because it's the only
Yeah.
one I have.
They're
Like,
nice. I like them.
You should have a big scarf you put on, a flamboyant hat, and a large fur coat.
you always make fucking like suggestions to me about what I should do with my aesthetic. You're always
Yeah,
like,
sorry.
you should dress like Jay. You should smoke this. You should do this, or you should like on one arm you should get semen tattooed, and the other arm you should have retention on it.
I'm sorry if this is an annoying bit, but I just keep wanting to come up with more absurd things to suggest.
Yeah. I don't know. So I mean, some
The semen retention tattoo is obviously the best idea.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I love talking about it with
Yeah.
women. I love telling women that I'm on semen retention. Like
Or
not
like your pickup line is you go up to a woman in a bar and says, "Excuse me, miss, but I'm on day 59 of semen
nah.
retention."
I don't mean like strangers. I don't
You
want
then drop off a White Russian cocktail, and you just walk away smiling.
No, I don't mean going up to like fucking strangers and telling them I'm on. I just mean like people in my life. Because especially like where I know it because I know if it bothers people, it says something about them. It's like yeah, I practice semen retention. I've been retaining my semen for like 50 something days or 40
Have
something
you
days.
asked ChatGPT about semen retention?
No, I don't really use ChatGPT a lot.
I don't either. I want to use it more because it seems.
I want to
amusing
use it
about
more
ways-
too, but like I'm just not. I think I'm too satisfied with my own like
Yeah.
creative drive. You're a Twitter guy. I'm a Facebook guy. But
Yeah.
like when I like I love writing. I just like to write. That's why I prefer Facebook because it offers more like room for long form content like that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true. The long length of the text, as opposed to Twitter's short 208 characters, unless you buy Twitter Blue.
Yeah, and I don't mean to get all new agey, but the shit that I write when I'm like specifically now about like metaphysical shit, I consider it's probably I don't consider it, but it's probably what people call channeling, I guess. When you just let your intuition completely take over and you just write out your stream of like you're
It's kind of like an altered state of consciousness,
Yeah.
isn't it?
yeah.
Like
And-
going into
Go
berserk.
trance.
Yeah, going into a
yes, going into
trance.
painters
Berserking.
experience it.
Yeah, go on.
Musicians experience it.
I hear about everyone. Like there's a kind of disassociation or
Flow
association.
state.
Yeah.
Flow state. It's not the same as dissociating, but even though there's a lot of similarities, which
I
is
think I wonder if there's overlap in the human psyche of
There-
how it works.
there is. I think like when I tell myself it's like one time I explained it to someone. I was like, yeah, sometimes I just like feel like not a person anymore, and I'm just kind of like the observer of my own emotions and all that shit. And my friend was like, sounds like dissociation, and I'm like, yes, but
Yeah.
I think the difference is like when you dissociate, you're doing it as like a cope, as a self-defense mechanism. But when you're consciously doing it, I think that's more like the flow state. Like when you're consciously willing yourself in that state. I mean, sometimes you just get into it by accident. You just get into the groove, while you're playing the drums or something, and you're just feeling it. You're not thinking anymore. Or when you're like, practicing swordsmanship or some shit. But like when you're doing, when you know the difference in state, and you realize it's a physical sensation. Like, I'm gonna try my best to explain it. So it's like when you're just like kind of just living your regular unconscious like autopilot living that we all normally live, it's almost like the pressure is dispersed across your being. But then when you're focused, it's almost like it closes into a line and it's centered, and I feel the pressure or heat or energy or something, but I feel it closing. And then when I feel that at first I used to think it was because I crossed my eyes. But then like that just kind of like triggers it, and you don't have to cross your eyes if you just like kind of focus that like pressure into like a center going down, and like that's apparently entering a kind of state, altered consciousness. I did that, and I didn't realize what I was doing, but I did that when I was doing like martial arts. Like when I would go up to like do like tamashigiri, the test cutting, and a lot of it is pressure.
Yeah.
Like when you stand up there, because you have to take turns doing it. You get up there and you only get so many tries, and if you fuck up, you fuck up, and it's easy to fuck up. And so it's like when you get up to do it, everyone's watching you. Your teacher's criticizing everything wrong you do constantly. Like there's a lot of pressure. The whole environment is designed to pressure you as you make that cut. So I was like, all right, so how do I not let the pressure get to me? And I just like, all right, so what I would do is I would just kind of unfocus my vision a bit, and then I would like kind of like have this like line of pressure going down the center of my body where everything else would kind of get blurry, and I would just like be better able to just go chop, and do it perfectly. And I didn't realize what I was doing, but then like once I read into like after the post spiritual awakening shit, I was like reading more into it about meditation and like altered states and flow state. That's what I was doing. I was apparently tapping into that the whole time, and I didn't know that like when you just kind of like unfocus your vision a bit, and then you just like you're not really seeing anything in detail. It kind of like focuses you more in a way. And that was my experience with like changing your state into like a trance state. You kind of have to have that unfocused vision, where you realize you're not focusing on anything, and then you just kind of, that's when you're open to channeling, which is like you're channeling the higher creative forces. You're accepting ideas and all this shit. You're not hesitating in like physical actions like sports or martial arts. So yeah, I think that, and that's what really got me into it. I was super into that, like that kind of like mental alchemy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever? Okay. All of us have been drunk, high on LSD.
Yeah, psychedelics. Oh my
Right.
God, that's a huge.
What other altered states had you experienced? You were talking about with martial arts, with meditation.
All right, so
you guys have anything else? I guess you like dissociate when you're driving like a long distance, right?
yeah, that happens. Yeah. Yeah,
You have to
when I'm
focus
drunk.
constantly.
Like when
yeah.
I'm driving drunk, I have to dissociate so that I could just let my
Yeah.
intuition take over, and then I'm just like, yep, I'm just gonna, and it always works out great. It always works out a lot better than trying being my drunk head, like.
Yeah.
No, I just let my body do the work.
That's what T. Lawrence said about like driving motorcycles. You have to focus on staying alive. That's like tranquil.
Yeah, for sure. And
You get pulled over by Buddhist cops for drunken driving. They test you not with a walking test or a breathalyzer, but with a spirit test to judge where your consciousness is and what level
meditate
it's
right
on.
now. 30-second meditation. That would be funny if we find out the secret to drunk driving safely is actually just entering your flow state.
Yeah.
The Buddhist flow state.
Yeah, you just get drunken driving legalized, but everyone just needs to be in a flow state.
Yep. Which is what the Irish are constantly in when they're drunk. They're just like, yeah, I'm so used to this. I'm in my flow state when I'm drinking. Yeah.
How they were able to flow across the ocean.
So you're telling me American Hicks are like basically Buddhists?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's fine with simple, meager, depressing
I mean,
lives.
didn't you read the Zen of motorcycle maintenance?
Zen and the Art of Motorcycle
Zen and the Art of
Maintenance?
Motorcycle. Yeah, it's real shit.
Yeah.
It's all connected. Like I 100% believe that.
Robert Prizik.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also look at like any great artist, any great war officer, any great politician, any great businessman. They all just had elevated consciousness. They were all able to master their own.
Right.
They didn't control their emotions. They didn't repress their emotions. They literally just treated their emotions like visitors passing through. Like they were just able to look, like every time they got angry, it's like that little anger would just come through their body. They're, oh, hi anger, bye anger. Sadness, hi sadness, but happiness, hi happiness. Like that's what raising your consciousness, not being your emotions. Not
Right.
Like I'm not my emotions, because my emotions are literally just like chemical reactions from my physical body. I could literally just observe it. Like I don't have to be it.
Right.
And Stoicism and the like, you hear this.
And Stoicism too. That's like a
Yeah.
form of enlightenment, in my opinion. Like when you're able to metaphysically view yourself,
You ever know that experience? What was the first time, if you've had this experience, of being very drunk at like a party in your early 20s, and you look in the mirror and you see yourself through someone else's eyes?
Yeah.
You
And
have,
you're like,
you have that experience, Rich,
I've had
Kai?
that once a couple times, yeah.
like, yo, I'm fucked up.
Yeah, but also like you're seeing yourself for the first time in a lot of ways, particularly as an adult.
Yeah.
At least in my experience of being. in
Yeah,
that
you're
state.
like, holy shit, I could do whatever I want.
That's a factor.
Yeah.
Seeing my body, seeing my face, having a
Agency.
sense. Yeah.
Agency. Yo, another thing. Back to what you were saying about psychedelics.
Yeah.
I think a global spiritual awakening is also even more fueled by like more people doing psychedelics. I think that's a huge
How
factor.
would you feel about putting psychedelics in the water supply? You have a society where everyone's just tripping all the time.
I think it's bold of you to assume the government didn't already do that like 100 times over.
fair. Well, let's try with LSD this time.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, what if they did put like micro shots of LSD in our water?
PCP in the water.
Yeah.
Well, PCP is bad. That's
what
literally.
we
fluoride
really
shit.
should do is put healthy cocaine in the water supply. So everyone's just energized and very productive.
Well, you know the smartest people in the world literally come out of Germany, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Germans. Well, I'm convinced Germans they invented Adderall with the help of aliens. I think
Yeah.
I do think during World War II they had a channeler. They weren't directly like face to face with
Yeah, they
aliens.
had a
South American alien somewhere.
No. I don't. I think they had a
they had a Thule Society ritual they performed,
and I
they
think a woman.
found-
They had a woman channeler named Maria Orsic or something.
Yeah, and she found the sacred ingredients to Adderall. She saw the molecular code
Yep.
written out in
Yep.
sigil runes.
Which
from Hyperborea.
Yep, straight from Hyperborea.
Which is fucking awesome. that's the coolest thing Nazis ever did was give us meth, like straight up, like
Yeah,
bro.
they did it by connecting to the astral realm.
Yeah, after A10s. Everyone gains A10s instantly off cocaine.
Yo, so let me ask you guys: would you
ahead.
consider like Adderall a performance-enhancing drug?
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
So, like-
no one doesn't.
So like, let's say you join a Magic tournament,
Yeah.
like a Magic the Gathering tournament,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and you took some Adderall. Would you consider that like taking steroids?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all
Of course,
doing-
yeah.
I'm sure a lot of the players are.
Makes you
still
less
got-
autistic.
All right. Did you hear about the guy that won a really prestigious Magic the Gathering tournament on shrooms?
No, I didn't. Good
Dude.
for him.
Yo, this guy wrote an article about it, and it's actually a fucking awesome article. This guy was talking about it. I don't know, his whole mindset, like it was great. It was perfect. I told, because there's one thing, because like I'm a winner of a tournament, so I get
Yeah.
what he was saying when he was like, no matter how good you are at something, winning a tournament is always a miracle.
Yeah.
And since I was already,
And then winning a tournament while you're on shrooms.
I was like, so yo, I gotta show you a picture of this guy. They took a
Alright.
picture like after his victory, and he was like, and it was a multi-day tournament, and he was shroomed out on the tournament, like.
I might have seen these photos. While you're looking that up.
Yeah.
Ooh. Where was I?
While I'm looking that up,
Shrooms.
shrooms.
Fuck.
Can you guess which guy it is?
Oh, yes, I see him yes, in the front.
Yeah.
So you need to edit the photo in at this point of the video.
God damn, he's totally fucked.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
have to edit this photo in.
How I feel all the time in every episode of
Yeah,
Terrorisk.
and he apparently like he won. Not even like in a profound like crazy. It was like it was
It
fated.
was probably spiritually profound to win under that condition. Too.
Hell's yeah. And you got to read the article that he wrote after, like, recalling that experience.
He probably thought it was
Was
actually
he-
planeswalking.
Yeah. That's what he said. He was
Battle
like,
of the Mind, yeah.
I was a true planeswalker that day and shit. Like I'll link you
Yeah.
the article. You'll
Please
fuck-
do.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
incredible.
It was awesome.
I wonder if he looked at his cards and there was like arrows guiding him, like subconsciously he was making the right plays.
Yeah, that's what he said. He was like,
Sick.
He was describing how he had moments where it's like, I could do no wrong.
Yeah.
Like I could do no wrong. Like I'm just gonna do it. Which is honestly, I look back at that tournament experience. I was like, that's exactly how I felt. Like I have footage from the tournament. Like I gotta show it to you later. Like apparently my quarterfinals, semifinals, and final matches were recorded. So I gotta show you that shit.
I'd
And
love to see it.
yeah, it was crazy. So everything he was writing about, like that whole experience, it was a spiritual experience. Because I think it's very powerful when you have confirmation of faith in the self. When you actually believe in yourself, put yourself on the line for something, and you win. Like it's like a crazy, profound shift, and it never goes away. It never goes away. You realize you can do things. You won't always win. You won't always like come out on top, but you always can. You know. And that changes a motherfucker. It does. Wouldn't you say so, Rich?
Of course, yeah.
You guys ever win anything in like a competitive like fucking? Because that was the one and only time I've ever won anything in a competitive, like.
No, I've never really been in any kind of
Same,
contest.
not really
that
at
I
all.
won.
You got to find your
Literally have to
you
find
gotta
to compete
you
in.
got to find your battles. Find a battle and pick it and just do it. You know,
High
like,
school maybe.
yeah, just fucking
What?
do it.
Was that Kai?
Sport?
I think no, it wasn't a sport. It was something like it was a mock trial in high school. I think.
That's like literally, yeah. That's a yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was a fun experience because it was with a team. So, me and my good friend we won together. So that was fun.
Yeah, no, that's the best.
What was the mock trial about?
Oh,
Hold on.
it
Yeah,
was
describe it. I
kinda
gotta piss.
funny,
I'll be
It
right
was
back.
kind of funny. Now it's funny in hindsight. Well, okay, it was hosted by a U.S. university in Asia, and I won't say too much. But then they did this thing where
Yeah.
one team. It was like, but I guess because it was Asia, they had to do an international team, so it wasn't like U.S. court cases or whatever. So then, it was like UN cases. So then one team had to pretend they were like. One team had to pretend they were Russia if Putin was put on trial, but then this was back, right? So this was for like 2014 Ukraine stuff.
Yeah.
So
Donbass
recent,
war,
yeah. So
not the ongoing war.
yeah. So one team had to pretend to be Ukraine. One team had to pretend to be like UN. Janny prosecutors. Then the other team had to pretend to be Russia. So and then.
What side were you on?
I think everyone had to play both at least once, and but anyway, it was funny because the people who wrote the materials that we were prepared on weren't crazy enough back then, so they still wrote like the Putin character with enough outs. So if you were playing the role of Putin, you could like stonewall the lawyer questioning you basically. So it was kind of like an acting thing as well. So that was just a memorable competition experience.
He's a cool guy, Putin. I mean,
Yeah, he's really disappointed a lot of people, or he's just having age-related decline.
Yeah, he's probably dying.
It seems like such a boner with the Ukraine war. Maybe it'll work out in the long term.
Yeah.
they are losing, right?
No, Russia's slowly winning.
Really?
Yes. Ukraine doesn't have the manpower. They just don't have the manpower.
All right. Because I see a lot of propaganda videos on YouTube of just like cuts of like Russians getting killed by like drone grenade
Yeah,
drops
you don't
and
see
shit.
as many of them as you used to, and also people have kind of forgot. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are like, "Wait, is the Ukraine war still going on?"
Oh yeah, they're
But they're making very small changes. Russia's mobilized and doing better than it was at the start of the war, but it's been hugely costly for both sides.
Have you ever seen you ever see those like videos on YouTube of people in virtual reality? So they're, you know, it's like you'll see like Winnie the Pooh and Count Chocula, and Count
Yeah.
Chocula's recalling like being in the military and doing like war crimes and shit.
Yes.
I love those videos.
Like the ones with the TikTok audio.
Yeah.
It's like in Gmod. No, it's not Gary's Mod. It's probably like Fortnite, and all these different branded IP characters dancing.
I heard a recent one though,
Yeah.
where the guy was an American former Marine, worked as like a defense counselor, defense consultant for like private companies and shit, and government contracted, and he took like 3 weeks off of work to go volunteer in Ukraine as a fighter.
Yeah.
And he's never experienced combat before. He was like 7 years in the Marines,
Yeah.
never experienced combat, got out, got a cushy private military job.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what? I want to go volunteer. And he did 3 weeks in Ukraine, and apparently it broke him. Like he saw and did fucked up shit. Like the one guy he killed. Well, no, I don't know if it was the one guy he killed, but the first guy he killed, it was just like in this town that was apparently supposed to be a staging area where other Western volunteers would meet. No one was there. He was just with this really shabby looking fucking Ukrainian soldier. He's probably like the retard of the group, like a babysit this American.
Yeah.
And he was saying how like, yeah, you know, both of us, we saw like, you know, it was at nighttime. We saw a couple of Russian soldiers knocking, like banging on a door, shouting. So I raised my rifle, and the Ukrainian soldier was like, shoot him. So I shot him. and he was explaining how like he got him, and the guy just like didn't like dramatically fall. He just like collapsed. Like it was like you ever see those dolls where it's like when you push the button, the tension releases in the string.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like that.
Yeah.
He just like slopped, and he went face down, and he said he heard him gurgling in the mud, like he was slowly drowning and gurgling in the mud, and like that fucked him up. And like after that was like his like day one in Ukraine. So after that, he was like describing how he just kept wanting to like redeem himself somehow and actually face like a real firefight or something, but he never got to. And I think he was just like, he went home like with nothing but doing like shit labor for the Ukrainian army and killing a guy literally. He felt like he said he didn't feel like a soldier or warrior. He felt like a literal murderer.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Because these two Russian soldiers were unarmed when they were by the house. You know, they were just.
Yeah.
And later on, he learned like, oh, they had a gentleman's agreement that he wasn't school. That at night they wouldn't like engage because you can't see anything and you wouldn't know if. So they agreed.
Fuck,
generally,
it's
yeah.
really rough.
So he felt like literally like a murderer of a and that's fucked.
Yeah, it's uncalled, yeah.
But fuck him, yo. He was like a dickhead for going there in the first place. Honestly.
Yeah. Do you think the Ukraine war is going to end this year, or will it go on,
I think it'll
guys?
go on.
I think it will
Another
end
year.
if the government discloses UFOs and aliens.
Okay, but do you think it will end this year?
If the government discloses UFOs.
Okay. Well, okay, fair enough. Go on, Kai.
It might be really close. Maybe the very end or something. Because
I-
I think there is a chance it will end this year, but it's gonna be a bit slim. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my feelings too. Like, probably if it was at the end of the year. Otherwise, I
mean-
don't see it dragging on too. Well, I don't know. You say that.
Putin doesn't want the whole country. He
2025.
just wants to carve in until he gets what
Yeah.
he wants.
The Russian-speaking areas of it.
Well, Zelensky's like running out of money too now. He was
I have
asking
no
for
idea what's actually going
billions
on.
of dollars.
Well, really, it's money aid.
Resources, GDP,
Yeah.
GMP. I should
Both
say.
of the, well, Ukraine has just far worse manpower issues compared to Russia.
They just want that gross military product.
Of course.
Yeah.
America's their baby daddy.
Yeah.
Well, another thing that I predict that might happen in 2024 is China invading Taiwan.
Now, people talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical of Taiwan.
Yeah. Me too.
I
Why do
hope-
you guys? It feels like even if there's some demand from the Chinese public, Xi has been so overly cautious. You see this with zero COVID. You see it with a lot of how China's been behaving over the last few years, and Xi himself is. I don't think he would do something so drastic as invading Taiwan. I find my belief is that it's very unlikely Taiwan gets invaded this year, but you'll hear about it a bunch, but it won't happen.
I think it might happen, and I think it'll be like so lame and like kind of like a what's it called? It's going to be like a letdown kind of. It's not going
Yeah.
to be intense. It's just going to be like, I guess they're invading Taiwan. You know, like it's going to be a very passive event. I mean, I think Xi just spent so much time like basically promising the whole school he's going to fuck this kid up during recess,
Yeah.
and he can't afford to look like a bitch now. He already promised. Like
He
time and time
already
again.
fumbled very badly with COVID, so one wonders if he is going to be decisive with Taiwan or invade it to win over the general public. Maybe.
I mean, they could easily take Taiwan, I think. I mean, America's
I imagine, yeah.
not going to let that happen. That's why it's such a scary scenario.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
the Chinese government is way too conservative to do it.
Yeah?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
man.
know they're concerned about uprisings or whatever, but I don't think. Well, the big issue, China's bigger issue is economy stalling on, having economic issues more than the populace getting pissed off they don't get Taiwan back.
All right, let's
Or
let's
if
try
you're
to,
saying it's for computer chips, but
let's try to think of this in the most strategic way possible. So, let's say there was a possibility of China
Yeah.
invading Taiwan. What do you think would be the most profitable stock trades? I mean, all right, in terms of like, companies that are on the open market, we got Nvidia, huge player right now. If anything, you'd want to go short on Nvidia. If,
you would short Nvidia for sure. Any chip manufacturers is going to take a while
Oh,
for chip
definitely, yeah.
production to reopen.
but I think you would want
A
to
lot
put
of electronic
I think what's
shortages.
going to go up are companies like Palantir. They're basically like privatized defense algorithm.
Deal bucks.
Yeah. Deal
Yeah.
dollars, yeah.
What would go up? Something related to defense contracting, maybe food.
U-Haul would go up.
yeah.
U-Haul always goes up. U-Haul is a bulletproof stock. Look, this I don't
People
give.
are always moving.
Yeah.
I'm not giving financial advice, but I am going to
feel
say.
like
What?
U-Haul go under. I don't know enough. I'll be right back.
Listen, when the economy is doing bad, U-Haul gets a lot of fucking business because people are selling their homes and they have to move to like inner city shitty ghettos. They're gonna use U-Haul trucks, so U-Haul goes up, right? If the economy goes up, people are gonna want to move their shit around and do a bunch of shit. U-Haul still gets business. U-Haul is literally a bulletproof company.
Yeah, it makes sense. Or people move to suburbs.
I mean, U-Haul is literally subsidized by the government. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
So
I
it's-
had no idea.
It's basically like investing into fucking Coca-Cola. You know, like U-Haul is a bulletproof. I think they give dividends. So yeah, people. I don't give financial advice, but invest in U-Haul. You know, like U-Haul's a solid company.
Yeah, U-Haul, airplanes.
Yeah, U-Haul is good. Get out of talk. Sorry, not talk. Get out of tech. Get the fuck out of tech. Yeah, like get the fuck out of tech. I would get the fuck out of tech.
Yeah, is it viable? I mean, I can't imagine.
It's
that
not. It's
much.
just. It's the whole China Taiwan thing. It's whether or not they do it isn't even the problem. It's just the threat of it is so palpable. Like that's because stocks isn't even about what is. It's about what people think is. So it's like you just gotta like assume people are gonna assume the worst, which is a smart thing to do, honestly, when it comes to.
Of course, in general, yeah. Not just like stocks.
No, investing. It's all about assume the worst, hope for the best. Or anything really. That's the best strategy. Assume the worst, hope for the best.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna suck though if China does invade Taiwan. Our computers are gonna get shittier, or But fuck it. Like I mean, Carmen was even saying this to me before. He was like, "Would video game graphics and CGI, do they have to get any better?"
No, I think they have a peak. I think they have like a peak like most technology.
Yeah, after it's like, I mean, what else do you want from it? Do you just want it to just be completely like?
Well, look at phones. Like they're not getting any smaller or getting slimmer for the most part. It's because they cap on its technology.
Yeah, I think I like the idea of AR glasses. Would you guys get that?
No, they give you like headaches. No, it's not perfected yet. Like they give you like a headache when you wear them.
Well, now, yeah, they have the stupid headsets. But I mean, if they were like streamlined to like where they just look like a regular pair of glasses, you put them on.
Really? No, it's too weird.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's a little unnecessary. It's like those old movies where they thought sci-fi stuff would have like screens like Iron Man style. You move it around.
Yeah.
Like people don't actually need this when they have a monitor. You know what I mean? Like if they have a mouse, that's actually better than
yeah.
using your hand to move something. But I like like that. I think Google Glass was like so old, right? Like 2013 or something.
Yeah.
And they just figured out, even if we got it work, like people were saying, oh, they didn't know how to make it work. I think they knew how to make it work. It's just they figured out that people wouldn't like to wear it, even if
Yeah.
it was kind of small.
It sucks. This is uncomfortable.
How do you feel about like the headsets you could wear?
I mean,
Where-
that's for games, right?
Yeah, but like where not yeah, you could use games, but you could also apparently type with it.
Oh,
You
really?
could like you could navigate like cursors with it
Sure,
and shit.
sure.
I think that's pretty cool. Like no hands usage,
Oh,
no
sure,
mouse,
sure.
no keyboard. You could just like literally sit there and just like think. You're. That's pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because there was like that girl makes those videos where she's playing Minecraft with her brain and she's just sitting there with the headset and like they
Feels
had
like a worse interface than a mouse and keyboard.
Is it? It's
For
worse?
now, currently.
Wait,
Maybe not in the future, but
No, I'm saying like, how do you feel? How would you feel about that? But I don't like Neuralink. I fucking hate that shit. I think that's a terrible idea. Like you got to drill a hole in your brain so you could inject like a mesh that just expands in your skull and just like covers your. No,
Yeah,
that's
that's
not
pretty cool though. It's like Ghost in the Shell.
it's a cool idea. But just why would I do that when I can just interface with a computer using my hands and eyes?
Yeah, there's really no.
Same thing with.
Oh,
I
it
don't
looks
like
cool,
virtual-
sir.
I don't like virtual reality video games because they're too disorienting.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't like the feel. I like it. The feeling of a computer screen, a mouse and keyboard is much better to me.
Yeah, I prefer AR over VR. I think AR is a better prospect because it's got more applications. First of all, in your day-to-day living, like you're not gonna be in virtual reality 24/7, but you can be in AR 24/7. For
Yeah.
example, you wake up, you put the glasses on. It's like it gives you your layout. You look at things. You could look at something, and then it'll send you links to like on where to buy it. You could do all sorts of shit. Maybe
I feel like that'd be a lot of processing going on at once. I would just like a nice heads-up display. I'm never gonna have any ammunition because I'm never ever carrying a gun. But in my augmented reality, there's always an ammunition counter in the bottom right of my vision. Like, good to know I have 0 bullets for my fist
Constantly.
What
right
I would
now.
want is always time display and temperature.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable.
Another good one would be like cardinal direction, orientation.
That would be great.
That'd be
I would
like-
love to have a compass.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
map
yeah.
markers.
Yeah.
Map markers in my field
Yeah.
of view.
Exactly. It's like, oh, take me here, and then it doesn't just like give you like let's say you're walking down the street and you see
You're
like an arrow.
You're talking to a girl and you have your Wingman
Oh.
AI app on, and it gives you a pop-up menu of different things to say. It's like in
Or-
a CRPG dialogue tree.
Or you're on a date and she's wearing the glasses and she's
Yeah.
pulling up like every fucked up thing you've ever said on Twitter or X.
Yeah.
It's like she's like, oh, okay.
It's just pulling up every search results for your voice
Criminal
using
background-
the N-word.
Criminal background checks and all that shit. Yo, it's gonna get crazy.
Yeah.
You know what? I bet that would even.
Well, I mean, already you can just Google people, but yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I bet that would inadvertently create like a whole niche subculture of like dates with AR glasses, dates with no AR glasses. It's like, oh, I'm a no AR glasses dater, or I'm a full AR glasses dater. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I bet you that would happen. You know, it's like, or there'll be like musicians who play with AR glasses, and it's like, no, you're cheating. You're playing with this shit that could tell you this, blah blah blah. You know, it's like it would be it would offer a whole new dimension.
Well,
So
that's
yeah,
like job interviews. Like, okay, I see your Cunny Rapist 1488. you have 8,000 followers on Twitter.
I
Everyone
see your-
tweets the N-word, yeah.
I see your Discord account where you follow all the barely 18 servers. You know, like,
No, at the job interview, they look at your Twitter account. They say you only have 200 followers.
Yeah, we're not really feeling it, man. You're
Yeah.
not really fit for the company.
I don't know.
I see you like hentai.
Yeah.
I think the best people to work for are Orthodox Jews.
Yeah. How's that going? They're telling you to build a lot of tunnels. This is just the dumbest thing of just saying Jew tunnels and everyone laughing.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry, but go on.
I mean, I made a post. I was like, I have no opinion on the Jewish tunnels. I specifically stopped working in Crown Heights and worked from home so I could like get away from that shit. You know, like I just look. I'm not gonna say like I'm anti-Semitic, but working in that area made me more anti-Semitic. Like it's just driving in those streets, parking.
What's some funny things you've seen in those neighborhoods? If you feel comfortable saying the anecdotes.
All right. Aside from funny things, well, first of all, people are just weird. People
How
are.
so?
I really honestly think like if you are in an environment where you 24/7, you're only hanging around with people that look like you, speak the same language, like basically culture, like ethnically homogenized like areas. It makes you fucking weird. It like some of these. I mean, they're not all of them are weird. Like some of them speak English fine. You know, they all have they have
Bunch
smartphones.
do, yeah, but
Yeah,
um,
Jordans even.
They let their wives drive and shit. But some of them are just so fucking out
what's
there.
something weird? I remember one time I was at Mood Ring, the non-binary Asian cyberpunk bar and club in Bushwick, and this Hasidic Jew walked in, walked through the bar like smiling, grinning, nodding, then left.
You want some pussy, dude, probably.
Yeah.
I think, you know what? If I go to any like Hasidic neighborhood, I think it's more like Europe than America. Like any
Maybe at
Hasidic.
one point in time, but yeah, it is capture an older village quality.
Yeah, it is literally like Europe, pretty much. And
What parts of Europe?
Eastern, I assume?
like Amsterdam-ish kind of thing, you know?
I've been in Amsterdam feels a lot different. Oh, I think I know what you mean, at least with people out and about or very different alien culture, different language, but I don't know. It feels very distinctive in a bunch of ways. What's the silliest or dumbest thing you've seen in the Hasid neighborhoods?
Okay, so Hasids have financial classes, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's the poor Hasids that live in like basically flop houses. Like there's like 18 people living in their fucking, you know, single apartment, but at least they own it, so they're not
Yeah.
renting. There's that, but then there's also like old money Hasids, old-ish money Hasids. Like, you know, like they've been around the block. They've been their loan sharks, they're accountants, whatever. They're doctors, successful surgeons, lawyers, whatever. The silliest thing I see is in a place like Crown Heights where the roads are shit, people drive like shit, everyone's parking like shit. where if you actually go into one of these shitty little buildings and go into they all have garages, and you go into the garages, there's like Lamborghinis, like exotic BMWs, Ferraris.
Yeah.
You're like, the fuck are you doing? Like I hated it. I was like, if you got it like that, like live in Florida. Like what the fuck are you doing here? Making
Well,
these
they're
more-
in this their community, then they stay within their community. Do you think they're just illegally expanding the shul, or was that dispute between the
Possible, yeah.
Habads and the fringe sect that broke away from them and is tunneling into the shul?
What I want to know is what makes them fringe. Why are they considered like? What is it? Their practices? Is it their beliefs? Like, what about them?
Among Hasids, they're a break-off sect that believes the guy who died 2 decades ago
Was the Messiah.
Yeah, I forget, like Lubavitchers.
Okay, so here's my take on that.
I have nothing against them. They could be entirely right.
I honestly think when it comes to Abrahamic religious institutions, they're so material. They're so about hierarchy that they're so detached from actual spirituality that I think those people, like, you know, when you're steeped in like Orthodox Jewish culture, Orthodox Christian culture, what evangelical, you're so steeped in dogma where you're so out of touch with actual spirituality that one of these rabbis probably had a genuine spiritual awakening and actually became enlightened, reached Satori, actually reached that state. He actually got it. And it was so alien to these Jews by now at this point because they're so steeped in dogma that they looked at him literally as the Messiah. Meanwhile, what they should really look at and consider is the fact that this is a global spiritual. They couldn't see it that way. So they looked at this one guy who probably got it right, who probably finally reached that state, and they looked at him as the Messiah. But meanwhile, he was just, you know, just another one of those awakened dudes, you know? That's what I
I think he
think.
certainly presented himself as a Messiah. I forgot his name, Rebbe.
I think, again, like we're talking
Wow.
about a guy who's so steeped in dogma who finally reached that state. He probably thought he was the fucking Messiah. But anyone who actually awakens has to recognize God
Well,
is within us.
anyway.
You know, like,
Yeah. From what you dealt with them, what do you think of the tunnel construction?
I think it's just one of the many goofy things these people do. They don't just build tunnels. They like do all sorts of stupid shit. Like, you know, they're like around like, you know, the specific holidays they would go out and build these weird shacks, which makes sense in a suburban area like
Yeah.
Long Island or Staten Island or whatever. But in the streets of Brooklyn, it's like, come on.
They have
you
a whole lot of shacks built.
yeah, and it's like takes
Just
up.
Jewish. They're just constructing things constantly. They're doing tunneling projects. They're constructing shacks in the street.
Yeah.
They really are dwarves in that sense.
And
Yeah.
like, you know, aside from the tunnels and the shacks, like also their schools. Their schools are fucking abysmal.
Yeah.
Like, they're ridiculous. Like it's not a good education.
I know it's a bad education. I wonder what they're like on the inside.
Yeah, what do
going
they
to
teach?
class.
Just like religious?
Yeah, they focus a lot on religious teaching.
My main foray into it was reading articles about people who grew up in it and grew to become very resentful of it because they were like, this is literally poppycock. Like this is fucking nonsense that they're teaching us. Like,
Yeah.
this is bullshit. Like this is retarded bullshit, and it's affecting them because they try to interact with the real world and realize they can't get jobs. Like they can't
Yeah.
do anything because, you know. I mean, they know how to talk you out of your money. Like apparently, like
That's all they need,
Yeah.
as long as they stay in the community where they all back each other up.
yeah.
It is really weird to just be walking along in New York and stumble into their neighborhoods. They're always so. I always feel bad, like I know I'm imposing upon them being there.
Oh my god. There's this one Nick Mullen story I always think about when I used to drive into
Glad
work.
that we're reviewing Joe Rogan and Cumtown episodes. Go on.
Nah, he was like, it wasn't even an episode. It was just this one thing he said, which was fucked up because I totally identified with it. Where he
Go
was
on.
like, he was driving like in one of those Hasidic neighborhoods, like in a summer night. He had the
Yeah.
windows down, and he was just doing impressions to himself. He was like, "Such a lovely evening. It's a shame that we're Jewish." And like some Jewish people heard him, and they were like looking at him like horrified, and they was like, I was like, dude, I do shit like that. You know?
Yeah.
And because like I, you know, working there and like having to take that commute every day, and it just drove. I even talked to my Jewish boss about it. I was like, look, John,
I can't handle being around all these Jews.
no, because he was like he got, because he's not an Orthodox guy. He was just, but so he told me, he was like, yeah, he get it, you know, I get it, and it was just so fucked. And it's like most of the people that I work with are actually all like ex-Orthodox.
Yeah.
They're all dudes who used to be like steeped in Orthodox culture, but then they started making money and they were like, yeah, this is better.
It happens to a lot of people. A big factor that drives assimilation in America.
Yeah, but they still employ like younger
Yeah.
Orthodox guys who are still there. So it's like they use them as the lower level cold callers and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the high level guys are the guys who are like fuck Orthodox shit.
Stitches, they have their own police force, as everyone knows.
Yeah, that's
It's a very curious thing to move to New York and walk through those neighborhoods. It is a fun experience, though.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre at times.
The only thing I hated about working directly in the middle of a Orthodox neighborhood was no food. There was no good
Yeah.
fucking food. It was all kosher shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it just drove me fucking crazy. Like at some point, I wanted McDonald's or shit. The only saving grace was that no matter how Hasidic the neighborhood is, there's always going to be like one Arabic deli.
Yeah.
There's always going to be at least one like Aki bodega, like where you could
Some
get
Yemeni run bodega.
yeah, where you have a nice Mexican working the grill. You could get your pork rinds, you could get your fucking beef patties and cheese, but everywhere else, like it was just any real place. It drove me fucking crazy, man. I can't eat kosher.
Yeah.
My whole life. I'm sorry, I can't. Unless I go vegan, then like.
Yeah,
then-
this is a big factor working again. Well, this is like why Chinese convert to any religion except Islam. They won't convert to Islam because they have to stop eating pork.
Same with Judaism. Jews don't eat pork.
Yeah, which even though they admire the Jews, I don't think Chinese will convert to Judaism. Something Japanese would probably do.
Yeah, that's true.
It feels very like being a
Double
Japanese
J.
guy who converts to Judaism sounds very right. That sounds like something that would be a natural fit
Yeah.
for the Japanese character.
Yeah,
There's
probably.
only one schizo Japanese guy who. No. He was the ambassador from Israel to Japan.
That's awesome. That's sick. That's like the one Japanese cardinal in the Vatican. Like,
Yeah. It was
That's
something
it.
like that. He was because they had one of the symbols, coincidentally, like the samurai family symbols, is like the double triangle Star of David thing. So it says, "Yep, this is it."
Yeah, that's a great coincidence how they also had the Star of David.
that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That's sick. I love it.
Who's the other guy? He's like Jewish fear samurai. That dude.
Oh, that
yeah.
schizo guy.
Yeah, but he's more like
That's
he's like a
that's
cult-
That's an Axis guy. Yeah.
yeah.
Also, I don't even know if he really has a cult or if it's just him like making absurd videos.
Yeah, and no one even knows what he did except that one video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cults are a really interesting phenomenon in my opinion. 'Cause, I mean, they're obviously something I try to avoid, especially like getting into like this esotericism and stuff like that. Like, I definitely don't want anything to do with a cult. I don't want anything to do with influencing a cult or starting a cult. Like, so I always try to be as much as abrasive as possible about spiritual shit. So like when I'm talking about it, I try to curse. I try to be very down to earth. Just to let you know, like I don't want your influence. I don't want to influence you. I don't want to. Because my thing. I want
Yeah.
the spiritual Second Amendment. I want to hand metaphysical tools out to everyone, just so
You
do
want
whatever you
everyone
want.
to have a spiritual nuke.
Yeah, I do. I want everyone to be able to manifest things into their reality. I want everyone to be able to master themselves. I don't care if you're evil. I don't care if you're good. I don't care about that. I just want everyone to just have that knowledge and ability, because I don't know. I think it's like deterrence, right?
Yeah.
It's like if everyone has the capacity to be a psychological manipulator, you're gonna realize we're all playing the same game anyway. That's what I think is the only right solution, to be honest.
Oh, that's pretty fair.
I mean, I don't believe in occultism. I don't think knowledge like that, any kind of knowledge, should be kept secret,
Yeah.
unless it's like
Same.
personal information, I guess. But
Yeah.
Or at least you shouldn't know. for
Yeah,
sure
you go
enough.
up to someone and you demand a Freedom of Information Act on the Social Security number, their DMs.
yeah, that's a problem. But I do think
Nah, I mean,
like,
it doesn't work that way, but yeah.
But I do think if there's like, when it comes to like knowledge like that the CIA has on how to manipulate someone, which like, if you guys are interested, I could teach you guys right now how to like effectively manipulate people. You guys want to know?
Maybe next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to know?
You want to know, Carmen?
Sure, I'll know. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
sure,
Be
tell us.
quick about it.
All right, so here's the quick and dirty rundown on how to manipulate someone.
Yeah.
So what we got to understand is that all of us, no matter who we are, every single one, we all behave in patterns. Like we like to think that our ideas, actions, and feelings are spontaneous and are unpredictable, but that's not true. everything we do is cause and effect. Like we you know why? Because we eat, we shit, and we sleep. These are patterns that constantly repeat. So we do in fact sustain and behave and are built up of patterns. So everyone has their own variations of patterns. Some of us do things, one way. Some of us do things other way. Like after a hard day, some of us like to unwind by playing video games. After a hard day, some of us like to like beat up prostitutes, and shit like that. Like everyone's different.
GTA, yeah.
So if you're a CIA spook, and you want to extract information from like a target, you have to get into their heads. So, when it comes to people, there's three different layers you have to break through. First, there's the public mask, which is, how they present themselves to everyone. Then there's a private mask, which is, who they are to their closer circles. And then there's the secret mask, which is, like who they are only to themselves. So in order to break that final barrier, this is what you have to do. So the thing about these different masks, obviously the public mask is the first line of defense. It's easiest to maintain that mask when you're flush with time, money, and energy. These are the three things that no matter who you are, you're going to interact with. You're going to have to interact with these three factors. Mm-hmm. So depending on how a person's relationship is with their time, money, and energy, that's going to dictate how well they can maintain their public face. Now, your synchronicity with these three facts, no matter who you are, you're going to reach points where you're not optimized in those three things. You're going to need a point where one of those things is going to break for a bit at least. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're shot energy wise, maybe you're shot financially, maybe your time is just too booked up. Whatever the case, eventually that structure is going to be compromised. Mm-hmm. Once that structure is compromised, you drop your public mask because that takes resources to maintain. Once you drop that public mask, then you wear your private mask. Then you become more of your true self. So as an external party who's trying to like infiltrate, you have to mimic them. You have to mimic their patterns. So the public mask, there's no point in mimicking that because that's just it's fake. It's superstitious. Right. But once they drop that and you make contact with them when they're in their private mask mode, you mimic their behaviors. So if that guy likes to unwind playing video games after he's stressed, you say, "God, I just love to play video games, when I'm stressed out." And the guy's like, "Yeah, me too." Or if the guy's like, likes to beat up prostitutes, sometimes, when he's stressed out, you say to him, "When I get stressed out, sometimes I just like to pick up a girl off the street, and just beat the shit out of her." Okay. Yeah. Basically you just mimic their patterns.
Right.
You
their hobbies.
Yeah, you basically align with their frequency. Then when they're completely depleted, which is going to happen to everyone once in a while, and you get closer and closer by mimicking their patterns, you mimic that final layer, and they'll tell you whatever you want to know. Because once you get into a person's secret life, you never ever leave.
That's interesting.
So that is the 101 on how like intelligence agents would like really psychologically
manipulate or get inside someone.
That's how they gain assets. That's what they do. So like now that you guys know, you guys are armed. You guys
totally armed to go up to a CIA agent and say, "Hey man, I like to beat up prostitutes."
No, it's more like when people come up to you and they start eerily like vibing with you.
Yeah, to what to be suspicious of. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Which is why Tim Titus was silly when he was saying, "You might be a spook to Max," and I'm like,
"Yeah,
dude, no, that's not how that works. Like, if they were like, you would like them. If they were like, I would be more of a I would be more likely a spook in his life than fucking Max. True.
Yeah.
I'm not, by the way.
I know. Good to know.
Yeah, Mormons, that's a big obvious sign.
Yeah, it is a good sign. There's a whole bunch of CIA agents who are Mormons, or FBI, or both.
And the brilliance of this knowledge is that even if you make it public knowledge, it still takes it's a practice. You can't just tell people even if you tell people, this doesn't mean they're going to be able to use it. Like they have to actually commit to vibing with someone like that intentionally just to get into their shit. But it was fascinating to me. It was very interesting. And I was reflecting on why I like to study psychological manipulation tactics, because I think when I study it and when people study it, it triggers a psychological evolution, and also it reveals who you truly are. And here's what I mean by that. When you study when you actually get good at psychological manipulation, it leaves less room for you to identify as a victim. Because the game. Now that you're aware, it's just now that you can recognize it as, I know the game, but that person was just better at it than me. So you're not the victim anymore. You're just the player that lost. Second, it reveals who you truly are, because once you get good at these things, once you get good at psychological manipulation, it leaves you with a choice. It's what you're going to do with that. You know, like, what are you going to do with it now that you're armed with this insight? Are you going to fuck people over and get ahead? Are you going to use it as self-defense mechanism in case other people try to, like, manipulate you? Are you going to fucking use it to gain understanding of your past traumas and past experiences with abusers? Or are you going to just, like, try to openly teach it to everyone so that everyone could be armed and, you know, hopefully, like, that could be, like, a form of deterrence? You know,
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. You know, I'm like, I openly teach this, how to psychologically manipulate people.
I know. It's you psychologically manipulate people into learning about it.
Because I really think, I'm sorry, but I just think that's the best case scenario. Like, honestly believe, like, if everyone was aware of the game, I mean, yeah, it sucks that you can't be a victim anymore because that's a very convenient position to be in. But I still believe it's a better outcome if we all just are players, you know, and we realize we're playing it. We just, not all of us know it.
Yeah.
And besides, manipulation is like the first thing we ever learn as human beings. Like when we're babies and we have to cry to get adults to do shit for us and to help us survive so that we don't die. That's manipulation. It's literally the most visceral, natural form of psychological manipulation. And it's the first thing we learn.
What do you think about, not to change the subject, this recording space we're in? It has a lot of work. It needs to be done.
Oh, no, I love it. I think this is a way. I'd rather record a podcast sitting on a couch than on the fucking stools we're usually sitting on.
I know.
You know what? Maybe I'll invest to get a setup here. You know, I'll get a separate mixer and get another webcam, and we could just do it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just have a constant a fish tank like show of all of our conversations.
Also, if you guys want to start a podcast, I'm a good editor, so I'll
Oh,
edit
keep
your
that in
shit.
mind. Nice.
Yeah.
You got into Fish Tank?
Not currently. I just hear updates on. I have people who are watching very thoroughly. I don't have the time. Well, I just don't want to invest the time in watching it consistently. But I know people who are,
Same.
Yeah.
and they're giving me updates on it somewhat.
Okay. I was watching the beginning of the first. I have not cared about the second season at all, but the first one I watched it very intently to the end. I was like, I thought it was very profound because no one did anything like that before. So I was like, this is pretty original. I gotta follow it. Plus, I worked from home, so I was able to, like, you know, I had my goon screens up. You know, like I was like, yeah.
You have your fish tank goon cave.
Yeah. My little fishies. But yeah, after the season end, I was like, I'm done with this. I was like, no. Because I don't know. I realized Sam Hyde, he's aligned with evil. He is
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a grifter. Yeah.
He's aligned. He's aligned. Like, you know, when we talk about spirituality, and it's not all good. Like, I don't think it's just good people that can learn to raise consciousness. I think
He's a real dark trickster figure.
yeah, I think he's clearly aligned himself with evil. Like, obviously, he's
Yeah, I've
consciously
heard
did
a
it.
lot of things about that. Yes.
And like he's consciously done it, which fine, that's his choice. You know, that's what he wants. If he wants to go the dark enlightenment route, whatever. Like literally exploiting others.
No left-hand path behavior.
Yeah. It's not, but you know, it's
Black
not. I don't
magic.
think we choose that. I honestly don't even. I think he just realized that would have worked better for him.
Yeah.
It's not like
a natural fit for him. It's his destiny.
Yeah. And that's another thing about free will that I also came to realize. Look, here's the thing about free will. If your free will is only good to believe in if you have a shit draw in life. Like if you're poor, if
Yeah.
you're ugly, if you're whatever, yes, believe in free will with all of your fucking might. However, if you're rich, if you're spoiled, if you're privileged, if you're already winning, it's best to let the notion of free will go. Like, you know, if
Yeah,
you're
become more determinist and more humble
Yeah.
about things.
destiny and fate.
Yeah, that's actually probably a good that's a good point actually. Is that
Yep.
for people who are under the right circumstances,
Yep.
to keep them humble or more reasonable,
Yep.
it's better for them to
Not
be more
believe-
determinist.
Yep.
And then
Whereas
for people who need to really struggle or need to put themselves, they need to put they believe in free will, so they'll have the
Yes.
confidence as opposed to getting too fatalistic. A lot of people are very fatalistic
Yep.
about things.
It's funny how like that same concept could be the undoing of one side and
Yeah.
the becoming of the other side. So it's really that's alchemy to me. That's like the kind of alchemy shit where truths aren't always true, you know, but they can be true.
Yeah.
You know, like so it's like it's that I think is something I'm really glad I got to share with the Terrorisk fan base. Yeah, don't believe in free will if you're winning, but definitely believe in
Do
free
if you're
will.
losing.
Yeah.
That's just a great rule. Don't believe in
Yeah.
free will if you're winning.
Yep, but if you're losing, believe in free will. Like
I think that's actually great advice.
I think it's a pivotal advice.
It
I think
is.
I think this is what I'm talking about. Like this is the kind of shit I want to just give to people. Like, dude, take it. I
That's
don't
a good
care.
aphorism.
Yeah. Yeah, and I learned this from this one podcast from a guy who actually doesn't believe in a soul. He believes it's all mental. It's all in the brain. He doesn't.
Who is it?
Tom Bilyeu.
Okay, not familiar. I was gonna guess Daniel Dennett or like
Yeah.
what? Donald Hoffman.
Yeah.
Was it Donald Hoffman?
No, it was with this.
Kaufman?
Oh, I think it was with. No, it was with this other guy.
Okay, never mind.
Oh wait, it was Donald Hoffman. Holy.
Was it
Kaufman?
that?
Yeah.
Kaufman? I don't
And
remember
it-
his exact name. It's something like that. Both
Yeah.
of those might be wrong, but
Yeah,
something
but yeah,
similar.
it was.
He's like consciousness and like
Yeah.
consciousness as being
Free
the
will,
basic
yeah.
unit of reality.
Yes, it is the basic. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the basic unit of reality as far as we're ever going to be
Right,
concerned,
right.
yeah. So yeah, I love that shit. You know. By the way, do you have any like stories of like your experiences in Boston Jewish neighborhood? Does Boston have Jewish neighborhoods?
They play. No, they don't. I mean, there's Jewish
It's
neighborhoods,
New England,
but-
baby, New England strong.
but they mostly Hasids are like. I think they're mostly in New York. They
Yeah.
probably have other in
Yeah, they're
Chicago or
coastal
something.
people.
They know better,
There weren't any Hasids in Boston,
dude.
There's secular or conservative or
Yeah.
even modern Orthodox
If they
Jewish
tried, if the
neighborhoods.
Hasids tried to go to Boston, the Boston would not have it. They would not have
They
it.
just wouldn't leave. They're so stuck in their ways. They're so conservative. They were in New York always. So they're not leaving it.
They're isolationists.
Yeah,
They're straight up cultural isolationists.
there are Jewish neighborhoods in Boston, but
Yeah, not totally Jewish. You know what we need? We need more Buddhists. Fucking.
we need more like a Buddhist,
like a whole
neighborhood.
town of just Buddhists.
Oh, man. Have you seen the Jewish town upstate? The totally Orthodox Hasidic. Jewish
No,
town?
I haven't. I've
No.
heard
Westerly
of it.
or
That's a case
some-
of them
it-
going upstate.
Is that Westerly?
I forgot what it's called. But basically they colonized like a whole area where it's like you said like the neighborhood is like Europe or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I imagine it's like the size of a town or.
This little like Jewish.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Jews
Wait,
took
hold on, I
over
got
my
this.
town.
Yeah, town upstate. Kiryas
Yeah.
Joel. It's called Kiryas Joel. Yeah.
Curious Joel.
Yeah.
It's Curious George. Is the name of the Jewish
Curious
the
Jew,
Hasid.
I just
the
passed by
Hasid
it
neighbor.
once on a drive upstate with someone.
Was it eerie? Did they all stand and point at you?
No, but when we drove past it, it's like they were in the big fur hats. It could be like in the Russian village,
Right.
In
like a
the
Russian-
19th century,
Yeah, but they had the big fur hats. The women were like,
wearing their wigs.
yeah, and then they had like these big, huge families and everything. Then the buildings look kind of weird, like I don't know, they look like stacked on top of each other or something. Like they're, yeah, it was definitely never seen that before.
I
It sounds
drove
like a
past this
fascinating
place, yeah.
sight. Sounds
Wow.
like a fascinating sight.
Yeah.
There are various other towns that were taken over by cults. I know there's that town in Florida that Scientologists own, and it's just
Oh.
dying because there isn't anyone there.
In upstate New York, there's also the Falun Gong town.
Nice Falun
Nice.
Gong town.
Yeah, but that one is extra private. I believe they actually did have a lot of like security, or something like that. I heard it's even someone I talked to said it's even near a military base or something.
That sounds fitting for a Falun Gong town.
Dragon Springs, Deer Park. Oh,
Wait, it's called Dragon Springs.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
lean into the
Yeah,
Asian
they
stereotype.
totally found it. Yeah, that's it. And
Falun
that's the
Gong town.
that's the founder on the Wikipedia page, and he I don't know if he's dead or alive, but they say he might live there.
You guys want to hear something fucking funny?
Yeah.
Sorry to go off topic, but you know the girl that I was talking to?
Yes.
So she was like, we were doing like, dirty talking or whatever, and we were, I was like describing intercourse and shit, and she was like, would you stop every once in a while to dab the sweat so it doesn't ruin your foundation? And I was like, I don't wear foundation, and she was like, that's so macho. I was
Nice.
like, what fucking world do you live in? Where like
yeah, who you talking to?
Yeah. I don't know. She just assumes you do a lot of Korean skincare.
it was just
because they're
hilarious. I was
Korean.
like, that was a first for me. I've never heard that, like, are you gonna ruin your foundation? It's like, I don't wear foundation, man. Korean, it's a Korean thing. It's probably
Yeah.
because I'm Korean.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fucking fancy Asian Korean.
Imagine if there was a whole town owned and operated by LaRoucheites. Lyndon LaRouche proponents of the political cult. Or Now they're just gonna name off other cults that could theoretically own a town.
I mean, fuck. Well, I think what would be more funnier would be if like the town was owned by like maybe like like the Kardashians, like a town.
Oh, it's an influencer town.
Kardashian.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So
it's
Armenia.
like where the mayor is literally Kim Kardashian, and it's just I could see that happening. She's like got obscene amounts. She doesn't have
Yeah.
too much money though.
The town gets invaded by Azeris.
No, yeah, it would literally be like an American Dubai.
Yeah.
You know, you like all the like Ed Sheeran would live there. Fucking Tom Cruise would live there. Terry Crews would live there. Kevin Hart would live there. Did you see the Cat Williams thing?
Yes, we talked about it yesterday at length. His various call outs and all that.
I was fucking drunk yesterday, but
Yeah.
yeah, we did talk about it yesterday. He's still doing podcasts now. And do you
Yeah.
believe that? Do you actually believe that he learned to read when he was like 2 years old?
I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah.
He might have been a young, early reader, but
Or
it
like
still
he got
feels
accepted into
grandiose.
college at like 12 years old or some shit.
Why did he not go to college then instead of like just moving to Florida at
Be a
13?
comedian, yeah.
It feels like he would go to college instead.
Of pimp maxing, yeah.
Apparently, he came from privilege.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, his family had like they come from old black money,
Yeah.
Black upper
Dayton.
middle class.
black Dayton money.
Yeah.
Because apparently Dayton had a robust black economy as well as a white economy. Because
There
that's
was
what he
a
said.
bunch of towns and areas like that.
Yeah, he said Dayton was weird. Was a weird place for America because it was one of the only places where they had equal parts black, equal parts white. You know,
Yeah,
like-
and everything worked out.
yeah. Like there were just as many black people as white people in Dayton, and he said that was like a very unique element of an American place, I guess. Which is actually true now that I think about it. You know, like everything is either mostly black or mostly white. It's never.
Yeah, well, it's just due to segregation. You have a separate culture, a separate sub-community isolated unto itself.
Yeah. But I mean, everything like Cat Williams said concerning his like his religion. You know, I was like, that's pretty good. You know, like he even described like his contention with his own family about how like they were very dogmatic about their Christianity, and he was like, God doesn't make mistakes. You know, like you're gonna tell me I did something wrong. God didn't make God doesn't make mistakes. You're gonna say you know better than God. You know, and that's what kind of like I guess really opened his mind. You know, like
Yeah. I was on a break with everyone else.
Oh yeah, we're past time. So all right. By the way, it's Friday night. You guys want to go out after this, or you
Maybe.
It's,
I think everyone's probably pretty tired.
yeah. It's
I
midnight.
am, but I
I'll be down to
maybe.
drink more in here.
Yeah.
In the living room.
Is there any places like in walking
Yeah,
distance?
Mr. Coco's. That's open.
Yeah.
Have to dox yourselves.
Unless you, well, yeah, don't.
Yeah, cut that off.
that
Cut that part out, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I really do though. If we're gonna do this more often here, I need to get a separate mixer here. I can't. I don't
Yeah.
want to bring. I want to get a separate mixer. So all I have to do is bring mics, and yeah. At least your
Yeah.
laptop could do this now.
That's true.
And I'll get a separate webcam here too, so you can just leave it here.
I'll send you the file on.
Oh hell! Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh shit! I should have brought my USB stick. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll get a separate mixer for here. I'll get a separate webcam. And we could. I mean, I like the spot. Maybe we'll even like put a neon sign here.
That would be nice.
That'd be cool.
You
Yeah.
might
Like
switch to the other side or do things to rearrange the place.
yeah. In fact, if anything, even if like not for Terrorisk, like it would just be cool to have like a podcast space. You know.
It would be.
I know it's very cliche at this point in Brooklyn, but fuck it. You know, might as well.
I don't know. We have the space for it. As I said, this basement we really have underutilized up to this point.
Well, this is a great use for it, honestly.
Yeah, it
like
is.
this is what I imagined. I think this is the most productive use of a space like this, other than fucking it up partying. you
True,
know?
yeah.
And we haven't partied in here yet.
We're hanging out. We're having a good time.
Yeah.
We're making some semblance of
Yeah.
creativity. I mean, also the stuff we covered in this, because like I don't know. I just told Carmen like I've been clipping the episodes, so I take like good bits and make like little videos and
Nice.
post that too. So like yeah, I like the subjects we covered today.
Yeah.
About novelty seeking, spirituality, theology. And I know you keep asking like other than like Taiwan being invaded and AI and aliens. I do think like on a cultural perspective, I do think spirituality is going to be like the biggest fucking like not just like metaphysics or
Yeah.
just this general sense
Saying a
of
general spiritual awakening and
Yeah.
newfound interest in it.
Yeah,
I
and
think that's a good guess or a good theory.
yeah, because people are, what else do we have left? Like,
Yeah.
it's we've exhausted the outer world where it's all redundant shit just repeating. We're gonna just look inwards now, and we're gonna do it. We're all of us, like, in some way.
I think.
What?
Sorry, we do have a very inward-facing society.
Yep.
And it
So
would just get more so. More
So-
masturbatory, you might even say.
my first tip to all you guys out there: stop jerking off to porn. It's time to let that go.
It's time for you to start jerking off to life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get hard
literally.
off life.
Also, wait. Actually, before we end it, I wanna get into something that I kind of vaguely touched upon today. I went down this rabbit hole about sex magic.
Yeah.
Because I believe in manifestation and saying-
Tantric sex, yes.
apparently women have a huge leg up. Like, guys' secret weapon is semen retention. Like, no, seriously, the more we retain semen, the better we.
Our higher our power levels
Yeah.
get.
Whereas women apparently have the most powerful manifestations when they coincide. They think about their manifestations as they orgasm.
Yeah.
So apparently that's like their form. So it's kind of the antithesis of what we do. Like, as guys, to get more powerful, we retain semen, whereas women are trying to. It's like a war. It's like they're trying to.
Yeah,
suck
they're trying to steal all of our semen. You're right.
Like,
There's just women breaking into semen banks and stealing all the semen just because they want to hoard it.
and it's not even like we have like they literally benefit just from us jacking. Like, for example, like, we could never meet them in person,
That's
but if
true.
we come to them, they're benefiting off of that.
Oh, they're gaining spiritual energy
or
like
money.
vampires.
Like, now it's actually manifested into an actual system where you jerk off
Yeah.
to me and you pay me.
Yeah.
So it's like it's real shit now. It's not just a spiritual allegory or metaphor anymore. It's literal. Like, yo, dude, you're giving your actual life force, your money, your time, your energy, your psychic energy, your virile energy to a
Yeah.
girl who does not give a fuck about you.
You're real.
Your vril.
Your soul.
She does not, dude. She does not give a fuck about you. I don't care what happy messages. Just stop jerking off to porn.
Stop jerking off to porn.
You could jerk
Stop
off.
watching porn.
You could jerk off as much as you want by because I do.
It has to be to Hyboria.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Or bad for questions. Like we
I
can
think when you jerk off, like, just with using your imagination, you're literally practicing a godly thing. Like,
Because you're gonna manifest
Yeah.
that bitch in real life.
Okay, and here's a kooky thought I'll leave you guys with. It's this. Here's a question. I already asked Carmen this, but you guys ever have conjure imaginary people in your head and have imaginary conversations between them?
Not that. There's a fake version of that, which is Tulpa, which is fake. That's the.
that drives you insane. Yeah.
Well, yes, but also that's
Talking
the,
to Mike.
Yo,
philosophy
talk to.
version. Oh, I thought we cut it off.
No.
No, I was just saying that the theosophy version of that, what Chris was describing, is called Tulpa, and that is actually, you're talking about the Orientalism stuff earlier. That actually is a concept that they stole, but they didn't understand it well. So
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just mean like not even as a practice. I just mean,
Having a
Yeah, yeah.
conversation.
it's like, oh, what would happen? Yeah, well, like,
Maybe, yeah,
all
maybe
the
a couple
time.
times. Yeah.
I'm always imagining
Yeah, sure,
conversations
sure.
between people.
okay, so my question is what if that's what we are in God's imagination?
well, yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That is what. Tulpa is basically that idea where it's like you can be that without knowing it, basically.
Yeah.
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 So Tulpa comes from a Tibetan word which is tr, like true. Well, I guess it's pronounced the same way. Anyway, it just means literally. Tul means like something like magic. Pa is like for a noun. Tulpa means like something created with magic. So, and it for most other Buddhists they might not know or they might think it's a bit strange, but it actually is a description for any kind of miracle that a supposedly Buddhist holy person can do. So like,
Yeah.
so that's like the legend basis of it, right? But then that includes making a thing that thinks it's its own thing, you know,
yeah.
right? So then when the Theosophists found it, they said, "Oh, okay, now let me try doing that by just imagining it in my head." Right?
Yeah. Like, what happens if the person in your imagination looks back at you and says, "What am I? Who am I?"
Something like
What-
that. So
yeah.
but that's just to explain what it is, because like sometimes people who found it through the Theosophy way think it's like a super dangerous thing or whatever. Right?
No, it's. I mean, it's crazy. It's
Yeah,
very.
it's
It's definitely very altering.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very fucking. Because imagine, like, a figment of your imagination. You imagine them talking to you and asking you, "What am I? Who am I? What's my purpose?" You're being God at that point. In a way.
I guess my point was just generally that in the context of where it originally came from, people aren't worried about that because they think it's like just a power, you know.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
if you are trained enough to even think about doing that, then you wouldn't be worried. Yeah, something like that, basically.
Another thing, all right, so another reason why like I'm really scared to read like books by Carl Jung and read like Buddhist texts, because all of my stuff has been phenomenological. It's not like I studied things and like I'm like, it's just things that are like literally my intuition's telling me. And
Yes,
I
yes.
don't know if I want to disturb that with
And
like
that's totally
it's reasonable.
makes sense. Like I started similar that way, and then I just chose to focus for at least a few years on one religion. Then maybe when after I'll switch, you know, to get a broader perspective of
Yeah.
that again, right? So definitely, it's good to have some distance, you know, have a more general overview.
because to me it's like that's the biggest proof. It's like you got a person who's a complete idiot for most of his life, who lived like, which is me, who's I was like the idiot for most of my life, and like one experience after another, I came to these realizations, and then I would go do a cursory like search for it, and apparently other people who've been steeped in this for years are going to the very similar conclusions, and I'm like, holy shit, you know, that's the crazy part to me, where it's like I didn't study this, and yet I'm coming to the same answer. So clearly there's something to this. But, you know, with that, what were you going to say?
Nothing. Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you like the episode?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, you were such a good addition. You too, man.
Of course. You're welcome.